Chúc mừng năm mới, 新年快乐 and happy Chinese Vietnamese New Year. Now, why is it in Vietnam do they call the New Year Tet? And why is it that this year, rather than the rabbit, the year of the rabbit in the Chinese zodiac, why is it a cat in the Vietnamese zodiac system? By the end of this clip, you'll have the answer to both of them. So today we're going to be looking at Chinese New Year versus the Vietnamese New Year. Last week I spent about 10 days, well up until last week, in Vietnam. And I was really surprised. There's a big expat community there. But I kept hearing the expats refer to the New Year, the Vietnamese New Year, which is a huge celebration, as Tet, Tet, Tet. Oh, next week's going to be Tet. Are you ready for Tet? Where are you going for Tet? And I'm trying to think, Tet, where's it coming from? Then I realized it's actually Tet. This is a word that I know very well. We have this sound also in Thai and in many dialects of Chinese. And so to understand why it's called Tet, and so who knows, after this clip, you will be able to pronounce the word Tet correctly, and hopefully the Vietnamese people around you will appreciate you, especially if you're living in Vietnam. So in Chinese, now if we're looking at Mandarin, we look at this festival here, the New Year, the Chinese New Year festival. It's the beginning of the Lunar New Year, and we call it 春节, 春节. Chun means spring. And if you have a look at all of the seasons, we have 春夏秋冬. So 春 and qiu are these changing seasons. It's when you're going into the next portion of the year. And so you may know very well that there are two main seasons. If you have any Chinese community living around you, you'll see probably around October time, they're all giving mooncakes. That's for the autumn or fall season. That's 秋节. And then 春节, which is the beginning of the spring season or the spring festival. Now have a look at this word here, 节. You can see on top of it, we have these symbols here. This means bamboo. It's a bamboo head. And so the original meaning of jie, I want you to think of a piece of bamboo, and you know how you've got knots going down it? Well, each one of those knots is like a jie. It's a node. And you have compartments within the bamboo. So picture 1 year is this piece of bamboo with these 4 knots or nodes or compartments. And so each one of those jie is a transition into the next one. And so the word jie has gone on from meaning this node or a knot to a segment. And so we have the 4 segments or the 4 seasons of the year. And so what that turns into, we have the spring season or chun jie, and then we have the autumn season, which is chiu jie. Now, if you were to say those in Vietnamese pronunciation, spring, chun is sun, and then autumn, chiu is tu. Now you can see here, this is something that constantly happens. We get this ch palatal from Chinese turning into the dental from Vietnamese. So chiu, tu, chun, shun. And then we have this word jie, which is actually tet in Vietnamese. Now, if you have a look at Cantonese, this jie, you'll find that it was originally one of these dead syllables. We call them 入声 or entering tones. So it was actually dit. In Cantonese, turns to tet, dit, tet. That was the same word. So this word that's used for this New Year, Vietnamese New Year Spring Festival, Tet, is actually the Chinese word. It's the Han pronunciation in Vietnamese of the Chinese word meaning season, a segment of a year, or a node. And so it's almost like when we say in English, season's greetings. You know that there are many seasons, but when people say season's greetings, it's sort of like Christmas, Hanukkah, holiday, festival time. That's season's greetings. And so when you're saying Tet in Vietnamese, you're basically just saying season. And that turns into the festival. So we have the spring festival, Chun Jie Sun Tet, or we have the autumn festival, Chiu Jie or Tu Tet, which just turns to Tet for Spring Festival, which is the New Year. So there you go, Tet. Now notice that it's this stop throat at the beginning. Have a look at my last clip when I taught the Thanh Hoa script, but then how to pronounce Vietnamese consonants. You'll see that Tet is a closed stop throat at the beginning. It's not Tet. It doesn't have any aspiration at the beginning, t or the end, Tet. So it's Tet, 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 cut off at the beginning, and the end. Tet, cut off, not Tet, Tet. If you said Tet, it's actually an entirely different word. I know it doesn't sound like it is if you don't come from a language where it separates the aspirated versus the non-aspirated, but trust me, they will appreciate it if you call it Tet. And so we have this new year. By the way, the word for year in Vietnamese, Nam, if you see it in Cantonese, Mandarin is Nian, which is Nam. So Nam. And the word for new in Vietnamese is Mới, which in Thai is Mai. So Năm Mới, Năm Mai, Pi Mai. So there you go. If you speak Cantonese and you speak Thai, it's a very simple shift to actually start to put Vietnamese together, and you'll be surprised how much you know. If you want to know that, come into Minecraft at jacademy.com and you can accelerate your learning. And so as we were walking through Vietnam last week, there were cats everywhere. My daughter loves cats. And so she had a ball seeing these cats everywhere. But I was thinking, well, wait a minute. It's the year of the rabbit, isn't it? Because actually, if you've done Minecraft, again, I think around session number 5 from season 1, we use the Chinese zodiac as a framework that just becomes instinctive in everybody, even if you've never learned Chinese before. And you'll recall the characters and the words, and we use that as a framework to start to count it. And so knowing that this was the year of the rabbit, why am I seeing cats everywhere? Thank you, by the way, to DALL-E, OpenAI. I said, give me a picture of a cat looking into a mirror with a rabbit looking back. That's the image I got. So that's the power of AI there. So why is it rabbit in Chinese and cat in Vietnamese? Well, I'm going to show you one theory here, and it makes the most sense to me. In the Chinese zodiac, you'll see that these symbols down here are actually the original ones used. Now, for those who read Chinese will think, well, they're not animals. No, they're not. These are what we call the earthly branches. You've got the earthly branches and the heavenly branches. Earth, Di, so Di Zhi, and the heavenly ones, Tian Zhi. So these earthly branches, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but it's based around the planets and how they divided up the day and the astronomy of the ancient Chinese. So these are symbols that are known right across Asia, from Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Thai. They all know these, and they have these divisions. They're 12 divisions. And so to say them in Mandarin, 子丑寅卯辰巳午未申酉戌亥, they don't really mean a lot. But if you know anything about Chinese or Chinese culture, you know that, well, each year, each lunar year, has an animal associated with it. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. But this is just showing you that actually all of these languages, and there are many more, Japanese, Korean, they all have their own versions of these words. Here's Mandarin, but if we go further back, this is Middle Chinese. So this first one, we have Ji, that X means stopped throat. Now what the stopped throat at the end, Ji, eventually Ji, it pulled the sound up. That's where our rising tone came from. The shangsheng in Cantonese, it's Ji, and in Vietnamese, it's Ti. So you would see that this is a very common thing for a palatal to turn into a dental. So if I say this in Vietnamese, it's Ti, Sửa, Yun. Notice that the D without a stroke is a Y. So Yun, which kind of looks like the Cantonese. Mao, Tin, Ti, Ngo, Mui, Ten, Yo, Tuot, Hui. So these all look very similar to at least the Cantonese pronunciations of these, which are closer to the Middle Chinese than, say, Mandarin. So we're getting closer to why this is happening. Now, I want to show you now a comparison of these versus the animals that they represent. And so here we have Zi is the Lao Shu or Shu, which is a rat. So the year of the rat, the ox, I've got my little emojis here, the tiger, Lao Hu or Hu. Tu is a rabbit. And then we have the dragon, Long. We have the snake, She, Ma, horse, Yang is the goat. It could be a goat or a ram or a sheep, this Yang. By the way, this character here in Chinese, it represents either like the actual animal, a sheep, a goat, a ram or whatever, something extremely beautiful or something stupid. So all of those traits, you might see this Yang character. The monkey, Ho, Then you get the rooster, 鸡, dog, 狗, and pig, 猪. Now, by the time you get to the Vietnamese pronunciation, you'll see that many of these are on the right side, which are the original Vietnamese words. Some of them are closer to Cantonese, some of them are Vietnamese words. So here you would have like Hu, Lao Hu, and Ho. That's obviously come from the same one. But then you get things like Chuot. Now, it's interesting in Thai, when we say the zodiac years, we actually say Bi Chuot, the Chuot year, which is the Nu, the year of the rat. So that's crazy. Nu in Thai is rat, which we say in the zodiac as Chuot. But Chuot in Thai, which is Chuot in Vietnamese, is actually pronounced Ti, which comes from this Zi or Ji from Middle Chinese. That's crazy. But it's pretty cool how all of these are interlinked. But the one that I want us to look at, because we're wanting to answer the question, why is it a cat instead of a rabbit in Vietnam? Have a look at this. So this year here is Mao. Now you notice this has a rising tone. The word for cat in Chinese is Mao. Now the word for cat in Vietnamese is Mao. The word for cat in Thai is Mao. So we get Mao Thai, Mao Vietnamese, Mao Mandarin, and then this year, Mao. Now notice this is actually a rising tone. All those other ones are not rising. But what's happened, this Mao, which in Vietnamese, Mao, it's got this broken tone, or if you're in Saigon, it'll just be Mao. That sounds very similar to the Chinese word Mao for cat. And then Mao for cat by Vietnamese has turned into Mao. So the theory is, or one of the theories is because Mao sounds like Mao, which is cat, which sounds like Mao. Vietnamese took the year of the Mao, Mao to be the cat instead of the Tu, which is actually a rabbit. Now it's interesting in Thai, we say Ta, Tu. They seem to have the same etymology as well. So that probably goes to answer the question, why do Vietnamese use a cat instead of a rabbit? It's from probably this mixing up the pronunciation. That's the beautiful thing about language. Language is a living organism, and even to the boffins, if they say it's wrong, once it becomes standard, it's the mother tongue of people and they're using it normally like that, well then even if it was originally wrong, well now it becomes right. And so now within Vietnamese culture and tradition for Vietnamese New Year and Tet, when we're celebrating this year, we're celebrating the beginning of the year of the Mao, the cat, which was originally Mao, which in Chinese is Tu, rabbit. I really love this stuff. We have a whole bunch of people that have just enrolled in Minecraft for this next season cutting off. If you want to learn all this and more, and you really love seeing how far you can push languages, or if you've never been good at languages and you want to unlock something that perhaps school or bad learning experiences have instilled inside of you that you just want released, come and join Minecraft at jacademy.com. Happy Chinese New Year, happy Vietnamese New Year, Lunar New Year to all. I'm Stuart J. Raj. I'll see you on the other side.